Welcome back to the Eazy Benefits Blueprint. Today, I'm excited to introduce a friend of mine and someone I've worked with for quite some time. I'm not sure how many years, Susy, and maybe we won't get into that. But Susy Martins. So Susy Martins is the founder and CEO of Advice to Rise and just general HR wizard. So Susy, I'll let you do a quick intro of yourself. And today I think we're going to keep it super informal and just have some chat.
Oh, awesome. No, and thank you for having me. I should have wore blue. We already talked about this. I messed this up. I'm blue inside, I guess. But my background is basically 15 years working on the corporate side. So I grew up 3M, GE, and then Manulife. So in a variety of different roles from the ops side to the HR side, and leading teams up to like 1,000 person and really global. I worked like across the world. I lived in Europe for all of my 20s pretty much, and then I worked at Manulife, like kind of Canada, US, and then all of Asia. And then I switched like the last kind of like 7 years. I've been working on the tech side. So I was chief people for a couple fast growing tech companies here in Canada, and then switched and started my own thing. So it's been about 3.5 years that I've done Advice to Rise, and kind of half of my time is working on projects with scaling companies, innovation centers, et cetera, kind of across Canada, US, and then the UAE. And then I do a lot of exec coaching. So I do exec coaching for some corporate, but mainly scaling companies across North America.
That's awesome. Susy, can you remind me, where did we first, I remember we first worked together and I can't quite remember when, but that was, which company was it you were at when we first worked together?
I think Clearco.
Oh, Clearco. Yeah. Cool.
The thing is, like, I worked at Manulife for a long time, which is great. And I worked on the benefits side. Even in the business side, I ran like a benefits back office for a while. Great privilege. But and then when I went to Startup Land, the benefits, like just as a fun fact, and I'm not getting paid to say this, is just like this unknown blob, right? Where you just have a bunch of brokers, and I'm like, what do these people do? And then I would fire all of the brokers. I fired every broker in every role I had as CPO on the tech side.
We knew we had a lot to live up to when we were working with you, but thankfully you didn't fire us, so that's good.
I brought you guys in because you're awesome. So it was like about transparency and like excellence, right? So no, I'm a Hugh fan and definitely an Eazy Benefits.
So Susy, tell us what's going on. That's really, whenever you and I get together, it's always an open chat, so this is no different. So what do you see and what's going on?
So like we're in March. So March is I guess Women History Month, and International Women's Day was just this past week. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that space. For myself, like actually I just thinking about that, like I always have kind of a recognition that I do of like the 12 awesome women like that I know from business, and I like celebrate them every year. And it's good, right? Like and people are always like, this is so great, and I'm like, should I do a guys one? And everybody's like, guys get recognition all the time, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of still fun.
Don't do the guys one. Don't do the guys one.
I know I might get killed out there, but I do have a lot of people I respect like yourself. But so there's been that and lots of different events, and I think being in person this month for a lot of these International Women's Day events too is pretty cool, because you get to see some really bright young talent, like women winning awards. I've seen like senators speak about their rise, so it's awesome, right? You get to kind of like hear those career stories and what's on their minds, right?
And not that you need more of it, but it sounds like that's giving you energy.
No, I like it. I'm here for that. I think it's good to be in person too. I went to an event last week that was, there's people like from the police chiefs, you know what I mean, to the food bank, to, all the big banks were there. And then there's tech people there. So it's very unusual to even have an event like this, right? So and it took something like International Women's Day to kind of facilitate that. And I was like, man, I'm used to being on the tech side, so I'm always just wearing like jeans and a sweater or something. Everybody there was like dressed like so formally. I was like, whoa, people wear heels. But that's where everyone wears heels still. So yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Super cool. Yeah. So International Women's Day, obviously it's a big topic in our space, and I don't know what you're seeing, but I think there's a stat, I'm gonna try to remember it here, but over 50% of organizations are now considering women's health as a top or high priority in benefit strategy. So, it's something we're working on with a lot of our clients, and ever evolving as well, right? Like, so trying to stay ahead of it, look for what's new in the industry as well. So I thought that was really interesting. You and I chatted on that last week, just that stat. And then 75% of women say that specifically want benefits that support women's health. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Massive topic in our space, and something that we're trying to be way more innovative on. It's ever evolving. I think, you notice, Susy, I often complain myself about the brokerage market. Saying something and doing something are two different things. So there's a lot, I would say, of talk out there, but actual action following through is probably where our industry is still lacking. And I don't know if that's what you're seeing or.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. Like now, I guess I'm more mature in like, just my working years and just even age, right? And it's, I've come to start to think like it's the first time in history that we have women, like a huge amount of women in senior roles, right? Like this has never happened before. And they're going through like perimenopause and menopause. These are things like I'm not the person that researches these things. Like I'm not like, some people are like, they read 20 books on it. They tell you all this stuff, whatever. And for me, I'm just like, man, I'm seeing it. Like, I see people, they're like, I feel insane. Like I can't remember stuff. Right. And like, if anything happens to me, I'm just like, uh-oh. It's like, what the heck's going on? So they're all trying to figure out even how to stay in the workforce. So we talk about people like I've studied a lot in the past, like demographic pyramids where, where do women fall off and like, what are the stats? And it's kind of the same, like as like, I probably did this 10, 15 years ago and the stats are the same. Like probably there's more women in the workforce than men, like a 52% to 48 in general. Once you get up like to like from the lower levels to like director, you see a major fall off. Then you have 30% women and then 70% men. And then once you get to executive level, it's like 20% women. And this has been kind of like, I don't know, the reason why they would have mandates like in Canada, like for women on boards and like trying to get percentages on exec teams, et cetera. And it's not easy. And we talked about like, you fall off at the director level because of like generally women will be at home with their kids, et cetera. But I feel like those numbers are just going to be even more challenged now because people are falling out like now like in these senior roles, like we're seeing CIOs, CTOs, et cetera, just falling off the grid. So from a benefits perspective, like I've seen people like probably in the last, I don't know, like you know better than me, like 5 to 10 years, like mental health became the big talk, right? Like where it's like giving up to $5,000 a person and like perks, anywhere in those ranges. That never existed before. And now it's like, there's obviously been a fertility discussion during that time as well. Like that definitely people want to get that. It's so expensive to get in your benefits and people trying to figure that out. And now it's like all the like hormone therapy and like, I don't even know, like there's so many different things you could do. It's like one, the education around it is like top of mind for everyone. And two, like, what do you do? Because there's so many people navigating it and they're all like listening to Instagram.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. This is why I always reach out to you and want these chats. You come up with the ideas for me. So yeah, I think you hit on something there. Over the last, I'm gonna say 5 to 8 years, like EAP, just for example, employee assistance programs became the big. We got to have this in place. For us, I think it was at the start, it was a tick the box. People put it in place. Usage was super low. Still is across the industry, super low. For us as an organization, we really are trying to drive that. But moving back to the women's health piece that I found interesting is, so obviously demographics you mentioned, just looking at demographics and then not having coverage for things like menopausal support, hormone replacement therapy is a big one that we're helping organizations to get coverage for. But more than like, I think it's 70 to 80% of plans don't offer any form of menopausal benefits. So, if you broke that down, I don't have the numbers, but if you broke that down, depending on the organization, to the percentage of people that could use that benefit, and just to not have it on there at all, it's really it's a gap, right? So we're seeing a lot of that. You mentioned the other thing we're seeing, fertility treatments and care navigation. So that's huge. Postpartum and maternal mental health, huge. Not just your regular EAP, actual proper assistance around that. So we're seeing a lot of that. And then, the one thing, Susy, that keeps coming back up time and time again, and again, our industry often says they do it, but they don't. It's just wellness spending and flexible spending, like giving the people the flexibility to choose so they can avail of these options when and if they need it. So that's a big piece as well. So yeah, Totally agree what you're saying. We're seeing it. The demands are there for sure. And I think organizations are finally turning that corner where they're saying, hey, we got to start looking at this.
100%. And it's a differentiator. Like
For
it
sure.
is impacting people's day to day. And like, even if it's part of spousal benefits, right? Like, if it's there, it's for everyone and for their families, because it's just being more talked about now. It really is. It's the first time you see people like, I have a friend in my network, and she's like one of these like superstars, like an OG in the IT space, like became like a chief like information officer, and then chief data, chief AI, like all of the things. And she opted, like she's done, because she's just like, the navigating this is so hard, like for people. I almost couldn't believe something like that unless I
Mm-hmm.
knew someone, because that's how serious it is. It's like, it's very interesting. I don't know how our parents generation did it, that they never talked about it. I was like, what? Like, and I think it's just like it's a different thing to actually work, like hardcore and
Yeah.
like a top executive job, like this example person was, right, versus like some of the things our parents used to do and our moms used to do, right? So
Yeah, and I think like things like fertility, we've just we've rolled it out with a number of our clients within the last quarter. A couple of them come to mind. I think the feedback from the employee base has been really, really cool to see. Like just the amount of thank yous that the exec level are getting for introducing it. Again, it comes back to something I said earlier: is saying you care is one thing, but actually showing that you care is a whole different level. And ultimately, when you as an organization, I understand that not everything can be done at once, but at least you plan ahead and you look at what's happening in the workforce, and you see where you need to be. You put those steps in place so you can get there. I think that's really important. And I think employees, educating the employee base on what you have and what they can use to help them is a whole other area that again, our industry doesn't do a great job on. And I think, in our office, I'm always saying, let's try to keep improving on that. There's no organization perfect. If we can keep improving on that, because at the end of the day, it's the employee base and doing things like supporting women's health. I think that's going to set organizations apart. In the next 5 years, I really see that the organizations that come out strong and again, take action. Rather, it's easy to say you're doing something, but take action and put some of these things in place. I think that's really going to be the organizations that come out as really strong.
what do you I'm just thinking about it, because usually one of the deterrents to doing something like this, I think you're right, like everybody, like, yeah, of course we support that, right? But then it's like it's also expensive sometimes to have some of these
Yeah.
benefits, right? Like
Yeah.
fertility's like it's always been very expensive to get fertility treatments, etc. So what are you seeing? Like, are people trading off like other benefits and kind of moving into women's health benefits? Or are they just adding to their plans? Are they getting cheaper? Like, how much would it cost nowadays, like, to kind of get this type of addition?
Great question. I think a number of things. So you're seeing all of what you asked. So I come back to our philosophy is, it's hard to put a cost in it because different organizations differ. It depends what you want to do. The reality of it is, there's a myth in our business that it always costs more. It doesn't have to. We're adding creative ways like optional benefits. So let's be honest, with the economy out there right now, not every company can afford to spend more. We also came out of COVID where employees really ramped up things like benefit spend. So they're looking at that and saying, hey, we gotta hold for now. Just with financial constraints, that happens. So it doesn't have to cost more, I think, is the number one thing. Some companies are heavily investing in it. Others are creating more flexibility with their existing spend on plans so that people can still avail of it without the company spending more. So it's a real mix. But I think the message that I always like to get across is, no, it doesn't have to cost more. And that's where kind of I think we're big on multi-year strategies and building that out with the client. If you have an organization that truly wants to be forward thinking and wants to support women's health, well, that's where we as the consulting world, we have a job to do as well to make sure that it's mapped out and we show them where they need to go. But I think it's really important as well for consultants that we work with the organizations based on their current financials, right? Like it's it's important that we understand that, and it's important that we understand where finance is in terms of investing more, in terms of more support. So no, it doesn't have to cost more. Of course it can, and companies can invest. So there's all different companies that fit that different at the moment. And I would share that with the current economic climate, not all companies are looking to spend more on benefits, and we understand that, right? So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think that's good though, but that's why you go to an expert, right? And you kind of get the optionality out there, like understanding even what, if somebody's watching this and thinking about what do I do for my benefit plan? Like, I think you have to understand your spend and the demographic too of the people that are in your workforce, and then like talk to experts that know the trends and like what are some of the things you should be thinking about so you can stay ahead of it, so you can plan.
Yeah,
you multi-year
using that buzzword that's that everybody uses, but using data, right? It's so true. Everybody says it, but actually going and using the data that's in front of you, super important.
100%. And people sometimes don't, right? They don't, or like they're just used to what you do. Because you think about benefits, like people come in, they're like, oh, I can get glasses, get a massage, whatever. I'm the person that never used any of the benefits. I'm like, I'm just working.
Too busy making sure they were there for everybody else, eh?
For sure. I was just like always doing something, but it's so important. It makes a difference, like to help people be able to work, right? So no, it's a good discussion for sure.
Awesome. Well, Susy, this was great chatting about women's health. This was awesome, super fun, always great to chat. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Me too. Thank you for having me. Next time I'll wear blue.